Last September of 2021, Ray and I were joined by a couple of good friends on a trip to Mexico. We went to Oaxaca, to the Oaxaca Valley, and one of the places we visited was this place here, which is hard for me to say. It's Teotitlan del Valle. And our good friend Samuel lives there, and I met Samuel some time ago, and he took us around to visit some places. And this is his home where he has a weaving setup there. They weave rugs, and these rugs carry a symbolism with them. So this conversation that you're about to listen to is some of that conversation around the symbolism, showing us how the rugs are made, how the wool is spun, and some very beautiful things. So join us, Scott Webb and Ann Webb, and Lorraine and I, as we have this experience all together. Enjoy.
Yes.
Look at my lips.
So the textiles, what the other guys were saying, before the 15th century, it was so hard to get red. You could only use the root of the madder plant, and it wouldn't give you a true red. It was really hard. You had to have a lot of steps to get that true red. But with cochineal, you just have to squish it and boil it, and you get this deep wine red.
Can I wipe it on here?
Yeah, no problem. Anywhere. On Dingo is preferable.
Yeah, I wiped it off.
I'm gonna take a little bit home for a souvenir right here.
Put it on your knee, like you had a wound.
Looks like I went makeup shopping.
Yeah. So when the Spanish discovered this bug, the first thing they did is keep it as a state secret. They wouldn't allow any other country to come to Oaxaca without the royal guards, because they didn't want them to find out where it grew or what was it made out of.
What's the name of the bug again?
It's gonna stay in there.
Cochineal or Grana cochinilla.
Does it stain or will it come off?
It only lasts 500 years on textiles. I think on our skin, maybe 200. And you could just wash it off. And just if you look at it when it's dry,
I don't know.
it looks like a grain, like a pebble.
I haven't.
The best scientists in 16th century Europe could not tell if this was a grain, a bug, or a berry. Believe me, they even came up with the term the wormberry, because it was foreign to
Who came
them.
up with it?
Scientists in the 16th
Because they
century.
couldn't tell what it was, but
No.
then they realized
It took
later.
them a while until they had microscopes strong enough to see that this little thing had little legs and what's called proboscis, a little tube, like a mosquito.
Proboscis.
So do they know who
Proboscis.
discovered it?
Proboscis.
Who discovered it? Do they know or have a story about it? The
They're
first
really-
time they were like, wow, we could use this for textiles.
I'm not sure exactly who
Yeah.
was, but the early the traders, the early Spanish traders, they realized the potential like this, because they were looking for spices, right, on their agenda to
Yeah,
cross to Asia, and then they found like this bug, which is a valuable pigment,
right.
and so soon enough, that's why the Dominics started increasing the production of cochineal. There were already networks of communities growing small patches of cactus here and there. And they use, those ancient trade networks to collect a lot of cochineal. There is accounts of pirate vessels raiding 12 tons of cochineal.
Does it kill the cactus?
Yes, actually, there's two ways of growing this. We cut the cactus and they hang it upside down. It will last only a couple months and then it will just dry up like this. Because the cochineal.
down.
Dingo! Dingo, no!
Dingo down.
Just saying, shush, shh. So, there is now some farms that still just grow cochineal and cactus. So, yeah, we're gonna grind this up and then you'll get a chance to use the metate.
That's the same kind of thing that you roll bread with.
Yeah, it's a similar concept. These stone tools are date from the Paleolithic, like 16,000 years ago. They were used to grind. the wild corn seeds. But look how fine it turns into.
It becomes a powder then, right?
Red powder.
So this dye literally can last 500 years on textiles, and we know that because before the 16th century, all the rugs that were dyed with red are all, gone now. They're all faded. We're gonna take this, and I'm gonna take a little bit of wool.
You should just
the
mix
rugs
that with
that are
water.
600 years old have died.
Yeah.
They've lost the color.
This cup has limestone. This one has lime juice, and look how that color changed. Kind of like the
So this is lime juice and that.
yeah.
And this, it's more orange, right?
Yes,
And
yeah.
then,
It's
let's see, wow.
you could see how that blue changed color, and that's because the pH of the lemon is acidic, so it will shift everything to
This one is what did you say? This
Yes.
is lime?
yeah, lime juice, and that's limestone. Pass this around. Zoom, man.
Lime and lime juice,
And limestone.
limestone.
So is this
And water too.
Rinse your hands.
indigo, is that the limestone?
Oh, so that's something else.
Yeah, this is another plant.
Another plant.
Yes. This is the indigo plant. So indigo,
Come sit over by Ann.
we call all the plants that make blue. And there is native varieties, like there's one in Japan, one in Africa, and one on this continent, which is called Indigofera subfructicosa. And in the native language, it's called jiquilite. This is actually the mush, the sediments from fermenting the leaves of the indigo plant. They put those leaves in like a limestone solution, and then the color, the molecules start to separate from the leaf, and they fall to the bottom of a big fermentation tank, and they ferment that for like 15 days. And what they collect, all that silt, is what makes color. Yeah.
So that is silt
Yes, the
from
silt
plants.
from fermenting the plant. From so, oops,
Oh,
sorry.
it's a powder.
Yeah.
So the indigo is another excellent dye. It does last on textiles as well for like hundreds of years, at least 200 years. But in order to dye the indigo, actually takes it's a different trick. That's why I actually didn't believe the Alebrije guy, because to dye with this, we need to ferment it again with limestone, and we usually use Mexican honeysuckle to add some sugar and start the fermentation. And this will make the water turn green, because all the oxygen will be bubbling out. And when the oxygen escapes the solution, the indigo molecule actually changes shape, and then it can be soluble in water. So it's completely yellow, and then we dip the yarns in, and when we take the yarns out, it changes from yellow to blue, because it reacts with oxygen. And then when it reacts with the oxygen, the molecule changes shape again and locks in with the fiber. You like it? That's right. So that's what the indigo molecule does. And then another thing, of course, we use is marigolds.
No, over here.
Cusco, ya.
¿Quieren mole?
You wanna try the grind on the mezate?
Grinding it.
Yeah.
Oh,
We use different plants. This one is called Dagetes lucida. It's like a wild marigold that grows at 10,000 feet up in the mountains.
and what is that gonna go yellow?
Yes. We also
Okay.
use marigolds.
Hey, he just
Smells
like
like
Steve.
aniseed.
That's what's so funny.
Yeah. The smell is pretty much gone now.
Do you harvest this?
No.
Yourself?
Yeah, we traded with the community
Trade.
up in the mountains.
What are those?
Frijoles. Guisado.
Beans, like,
The
Is that
beans
mesquite?
we ferment,
Is that mesquite beans?
with rust, with metals to get the black. So
Wow.
we have black yarns but they're not truly black.
Is that
With that,
They'll go black.
it turns. It's kind of like what scribes use to make ink with oak leaves.
Oh, quítalo.
is this mesquite?
This is púrpura.
Oh, purple.
Yeah, that's the.
That comes from the,
Online.
Yeah.
what
with
is
the lime-
that?
That's the red
Lime
with the
and which
limestone.
one?
Yes, that's the cochineal with the
Oh,
limestone.
with the limestone. Okay, yes. Okay.
Mesquite?
Yes, yeah, from the mesquite.
Can I eat it?
We actually, it's kind of rough, but I
So
think.
this isn't the same as the mesquite we have, because you can eat mesquite beans in the U.S.
But dried.
Yeah, it's sweet. You tried it before?
I've tried it.
It's
I've
not
got
the
it
bean.
ground
It's
like
not the
a
beans.
flour.
It's the shell.
Oh,
Inside it's sweet.
yeah. I mean, I haven't tried it directly like that. But,
Sweetheart, can you put my earphone in my earphone, please?
so, in order to make the other colors, we would take. Well, here, I'll show you.
This is for cochinilla.
Yeah.
This is for the one.
Usually.
So that's just the
And
one
that-
plain, and then
This is the color we get from
the
that
plant. Yeah.
from that plant.
Okay.
And then we could dye it yellow, and then red, and then we'll get an orange.
Wow.
This
okay.
is the blue from the indigo. We dye it. This is the, one of the dark shades of blue, and then we dye it yellow, and then we'll
Have you
get
just
this
have you
green.
tried it before? Yeah.
So with these three primary colors,
There's no
we can get
semente,
all those-
solo casca.
So then we're gonna mix
Dulce.
the blue,
Yes,
Dulce.
the green.
the indigo and the marigold will give
Oh.
the green. Yeah.
And
Okay.
the yellow with the green makes the, what, no, the yellow with the
Mezclado,
red makes the
mezclado.
orange.
Yes. Yeah.
Como
Yeah.
su
So you only have
Playera.
3 different things that you're
Mezcla.
making all these.
We could use
Yellow
other
and
things
green.
too.
Yellow and green.
The pomegranate shells, the actual shells, as you saw, also make yellow. And on the wools, it's a little bit more pale than this. It's also a good base color because the pomegranate has tannins. So it'll make the other dyes stick much better to the yarn. To fix the dye, these days we use alum powder. It's like
To
the
set the
blocking
dye?
Yeah, it's called a
So it
mordant.
won't bleed.
So it won't bleed. And yeah, that's pretty much what the dye. We use pecan shells, the pecans themselves, the bark of the tree. We are now,
this is medical.
since last time, we're gonna experiment with this wild mushrooms.
Wow.
This is lana the sheep.
Lana. Wool.
Lemon.
Wool.
Wool.
This is the medical.
Where's this? Oh, this one, it's a polypore. This would make greens and yellows.
And these are mushrooms.
Yes, mushrooms. And I've got another.
Have you used them before? Or you're just starting to use them.
No, we're just
Yeah.
starting.
Wool.
Lana.
Lana, string or fiber thread.
Mira.
It's been spun.
Yes. And this one, it's kind of, there's some sapling. This one has like a blue liquid when you cut it. We're yet to try it, but it's supposed to make blue as well. It's called Lactafaria indigofera. So the trouble with mushrooms, you have to collect a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas with indigo, we already have the ancient processes. There is a town called Nieltepec towards the coast of Oaxaca, where the whole village makes indigo dyes,
Wow.
and they sell it, to the wood carvers, to textile makers, and also for the cochineal is grown in many states too. Up to this day, it's still processed and refined to make commercial dyes for food and pharmaceuticals. Like the top quality lipsticks will have cochineal because it's human safe,
Yeah.
and it's edible. It's found on processed foods. Even Starbucks was using it for their raspberry drink
Oh, really? Oh.
until the vegans found out and they complained. So now they're using B45.
Oh, wow.
Can I try grinding?
Yeah, come over.
That's
We'll done.
Okay.
And then we're gonna show you the spinning, the carding, and the spinning. As I said, we'll get.
So now, how do I get it down here?
So you get it with both hands.
You don't roll it, you just grind it.
Indigo is leaves, and then they
So
ferment
you,
them.
yeah,
And
you're
then
just
you
gonna
let
push
the-
up and down with a
they
little
let
twist.
the liquid,
Yeah, like
they
a
let
wrist
the
twist.
liquid
That's it.
evaporate.
All right,
and
so
it
how do I
leaves
get-
kind of like a mud.
Also, so you start at the bottom of this and you grab little by little,
Fermented,
and you,
okay.
and then you, every time you go up, you pull
All right, so
that
do I
over.
just kind of push some down?
Yeah, you could do that, or just the metate will pull it down. Yeah. And you have to do this long push, so
Oh,
it
so-
grinds. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I was watching a documentary on the BBC, and they had a metate without the feet in Scotland.
Oh,
You know,
really?
back in the Paleolithic to grind acorns. So this technology is also very ancestral to all of us. Yeah, that's it.
And
You
then
could
I
see a
just-
date on the front. That's when my mom got married, and she got this metate as a wedding gift.
Oh, the date on the front?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
87.
And then you just get the
87.
spoon like she
87.
had and put it away.
Yes. Yeah.
Is
Wow.
that
We'll have to grind this,
317, 87? Is that what
you know,
that
really
says?
Fine.
fine.
Yeah.
We'll do it
Wow.
like 4 times.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And
So do you split your activities like you grind one day, you weave one day, or?
we usually we dye wool one day, and that's all we do. We will be We would be just grinding stones, grinding. We grind in the morning, wash the wool, boil the pots, and then after midday we'll be throwing stuff in and playing, experimenting. And
How long does it take for the wool to dry?
here it just takes one full day on a sunny day. Yeah.
And then
like
how
6
do you
hours.
set it again? You put it in alum?
Yes. So when we're fixing the dye, the cochineal, the plants, all the flowers, the pomegranates, usually, yeah, we could go wash it.
Do you dye it when it's in wool, like yarn form?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
You
when
get it in
it's
yarn form
already
first.
in yarn form.
So you spin it then too?
Not anymore, to be honest. And this is also when my grandparents were alive. They were doing this whole process, but they could only make 10 to 12 rugs in a year because they were doing it literally first. Shear the sheep, and then they'll put the wool in baskets like this. You'll take this to the river, put a stone on it, and let the water, run through the pile of wool to soften it. Soften the dirt and the manure that stick to the wool, and then you will clean it with a soap. It's a root plant called amole, and then we'll do this process that my mom is showing. This is the carding.
And what does this do?
This is gonna start to align the fibers
All the fibers
in one direction,
Oh,
and once that's aligned in one direction, it's easier to spin because as you twist it, then the next fiber pulls the next one, and the next one pulls the next one, and then you start creating thread. Just like that. So, also here you could pull out all the thorns and debris that the sheep would have picked up in the fields.
They do classes on this at Rabbit Stick.
Yeah. And the ancestral tool, it's a certain type of seeds with like barb thorns. They're like big seeds.
Yeah,
this
I
is
told
the
you, Anne's
difference.
mom, Anne has some of those from her
From
great
early
grandmother.
1800s.
Wow, those are treasures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From your grandmother. Great grandma.
Yeah, I mean, 2 generations ago, Will had a grandma who was weaving, knitting, and making her own clothes for the family. So,
Was that your brother that passed through?
yeah, that's my brother.
And all of these little pieces of weeds and things that are in there and dirt,
Yes.
that just stays in there.
Some of it does survive. We'll get it out after the rug is woven, and then we'll clean it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we'll also do this like at least two or three times to make sure the fibers are really aligned.
So the weavers come and get the yarn from you.
Yeah, that's the way.
So you guys are the ones that create the yarn.
Yes.
For them.
For most of the
You
natural
do,
dyed
you do some
rugs.
rugs too?
Yes. My loom is one of the little ones.
You do them.
Yeah.
Does your mom do them too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all of you.
So do you have people that work for you besides your family?
Yeah. So before the pandemic, we were working with 16 other families. So we'll dye a lot of wool, and then we'll
But
give them
because
some
today's
wool.
Sunday, people aren't working.
Yes, what happened is that I had a good time because I had a website, but I had it ignored. I was doing mostly travels where I take the physical rugs to states and do demonstrations. And then I had a large follower. Decided to start including more weavers, and everybody also found out that I was, selling rugs and buying rugs, and they would come here and bring the rugs, and I was able to.
So you kind of have like a co-op.
Yeah, it's like a co-op, although it's not like, not everybody has the loom here. It's distributed in the
Like they
community.
all have it where they live, but
Yes.
they come here and get their yarn, and they
Yeah.
come here and bring the rugs.
Yeah. And my mom's gonna demonstrate the spinning on this lid.
Okay, so did they take it from this, or were you doing another process?
No, from this is ready to spin.
Okay.
Be careful with this. What's the movie?
Oh,
Yes.
no, the Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Oh, Sleeping Beauty, yeah.
So these now are also European tools, the very first that were built in the 16th century. And it allows the spinning to be faster. Yeah, when my mom grew up, she was still doing some of this, and that's how she learned with her grandma. So like I was saying before, there are like 4,000 to 5,000 weavers in my village. Every month
4 to 5?
we process 9 tons of wool into rugs. There is not enough wool in Oaxaca to supply
I
for
was
just
gonna say,
this
where do you get the
community.
sheep? Where do you get the
These days, mostly from the state of Toluca,
Okay.
on the foothills of the volcanoes outside
And
Mexico
you buy
City.
that just after they've shared it.
Yes, so they share it and spin it. And
Okay.
most of the yarn that you'll see all around the village, I'm gonna pass it around, you can see the uniformity of it, it's perfect because it was milled. It's a.
So
There's
you
still
don't spin the yarn here. You'll get
not
it.
anymore. We do some of it, like very little, like that amount we'll do a month. And we only make 2 or 3 rugs a year that are hand spun.
And that costs more money.
Yes, yeah, because the amount of time that goes into it is much more. And we reserve that for most special.
And how does the mill do it?
These mills, they're like machines from the early 1900s. The belt that runs the engine is still made out of leather. And for the carding, it's just 2 drums with the same, we call them teeth, just rubbing the wool like against each other. And the spinning, I don't get too much how the technology works, but
I
there
don't
are 3 spinneries outside Mexico City that spin wool for this town. And they also spin fancy wools for other shawl weavers and
And is that becoming like a bobbin right
Alguien
there?
quiere
yes, and then we'll take it from a bobbin and we'll wind it up on this wheel to make a skein, and that skein is what we showed you
Like
right
this.
That's
So
what
this
we're
is
gonna
about
use.
the same width of the wheel.
there. It's easier to manipulate, to dye, to wash,
Yeah.
and then we'll take the skein again and make it into a bobbin.
Now, because some of this is in different colors,
Yes, that's the natural variation.
so then that you keep that, and that becomes the natural variation
Yes.
that's in the woven product,
Yes.
right?
That's another indication of a natural
being
dye
handmade, yeah.
rug. Unfortunately, a lot of the tourists that come here to the village, they do this whole thing, and at the end they'll sell you the rugs. They'll tell you they're natural, but they're not.
Right.
And the key is that natural dyed rugs, they're like clay, they're matte. They're intense color, but they don't reflect light. Like all of those colors right there. We have synthetic dyed yarns. Usually they're brighter, but they could also be pastel looking. But the key is that the way they reflect light, it's more, they reflect light. Because they're made with metal oxides and other heavy metals
Oh, yeah.
that reflect light by nature.
Very interesting.
Very.
So
That's
now
awesome.
we'll go and
Thank
you
you.
can have a look at our looms, and we'll show you the next step for the weaving part.
Esto aprendí con mi abuelita.
She learned this with her grandma.
Oh, how fun.
Cuando ella trabajaba, yo mirar qué hace.
When she was working, she would just watch what she'll do, and that's how she learned.
Ahí aprendí poco a poco.
That's how she learned little by little. Actually, also weaving, she said that her brothers didn't want to teach her, so she learned just by watching. And when they would go away and play basketball, she would go on their looms and weave. And when they'll come back and like, who wove this? Sometimes it'll be a mistake, and then sometimes, when she got
Esto
good
lo
enough,
hacemos
it'll be-
manual, sin tijera, manual, con la mano.
But then too, papi.
¿Quiere hacer uno?
Well, do you wanna
Yeah.
spin?
Oh,
I can help you. Or you could twist it by hand. But then, más comida, garantero ya.
yeah, I want to spin.
Esta.
So let's see.
You
I have
just
to
hold it
it.
gently.
Suave.
Yeah.
What about on the end or let it come
No,
over here?
let it slip so that it just makes the twist.
Okay,
And
so
at the end, we collect it with a roll to make the bobbin. So first we let it slip on the
now,
tip
and
of
do
the
I
roll.
hold it between my fingers or just
Yes. Yeah.
like this?
Yeah. Just let go, little by little. The more you let go, it'll be more thick. The less you let go, it'll be really thin. Oh yeah, let it slip here though.
What does that mean?
So go back.
Come
yes, go
back?
Yeah. Go back all the way. Oh, right there. Now go the other way and move it this way. Yeah. We wanted to do that. You see that?
Uh-huh.
That's adding a twist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that
So
twisting this
yeah,
some of
don't-
this
don't
out?
put- yeah.
So I'm holding it
Yeah.
tighter because I want it to. I don't want it to be bulky
yeah.
like that.
Oh no, for this, actually stop. Yeah. And let's can. If we do like this, we untwist it, then we can make it thinner. You have to
Okay.
untwist it a little bit more.
Si no, alguien que nos
So the spinner's just twisting it.
There you go. Look, it's
You're just
making
pulling
it
it.
thinner, and then I'm gonna let it go,
Okay.
and you see how that fits.
Ah.
Okay. And then I kind of. All right. So now
There's more even.
I'm just gonna kind of let it go.
Yes. And the more you let go, the thicker it is. So it's
You're going on the end. Watch the end.
now, yeah, we gotta let it slip here, like
Oh, yeah.
there. Now this is really well twisted. We can
Okay,
collect
so-
it
Okay.
like that. Now we collect it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Collecting more towards that way.
You collect
Yeah.
it on here.
Yeah. Let's go back. Estelata.
Okay, and then hold it so that it winds more on this side.
Yeah. On this side. Yeah. Bring it here to the middle.
so old-fashioned.
That now you see why it takes a whole
Wow.
month to make a rug
Wow.
when you're doing it from scratch.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and also the dye process, like for the indigo, when it's fermented, it takes like 2 weeks, to go from blue to green.
Wow.
And okay, let's go.
Lenore.
That's my grandma's name.
Really?
And basically, we have 2 petals that run along this harness.
Uh-huh.
This is the warp, right? The warp runs lengthwise,
Right.
and then we'll have one warp thread threaded to this harness, but not to the other one, to the one behind.
Right.
The next warp will not be threaded to this harness, but will be threaded to the one behind.
Wow.
So we have zeros and ones.
Yeah.
The origin of computing.
Yeah.
Because one of the very first
Binary
things
language.
that engineers automated were looms. So anyway, when we switch pedals, half of the threads will go up, and the other half that were up, they'll go down, and in fact, locking each thread of yarn into place. So I'm gonna let you do this. So pay attention. We're gonna go from left to right. So that's right to left. So I put all my weight on the right foot, and with my right hand I go right to left. I'm gonna do this 4 times, and I count 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is what we could call a stitch, and I could do this to compact the yarns, and then I'll do all over again. And let me just keep track of this pattern. This pattern is going this way. This is going straight.
Is it all wool? This part's wool too?
Yeah, yeah. This is wool. This warp actually has 2% rayon, because when we weave, and I notice it's not tense really. We tense this really well, so that when we beat this, we call the comb, it really compacts the wool, and so we don't see any of the warp in the weaving.
But the warp actually helps hold the shape.
Yes.
And you need it to make the stitch.
Yeah, the warp is the structure of our weaving. It's like the bones that's gonna carry the weft. And here I'm gonna add 1 more stitch to this thread, and then I'm gonna do my 4 passes. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th pass. So here I'm counting 2 pairs. This thread already has 2 pairs, so I'm gonna leave it out. This one has 1.5 pairs. So I'm gonna finish this side. And it's important to keep track of those countings so that each stitch is the same height and it doesn't end up looking jagged. Do you wanna have a go? I'll guide you.
Yeah, I'll try.
What I'm doing here, in terms of balance, it's easier to. You gotta put 1 foot on the stable and the other foot on the pedal. And you're gonna stand as close as you can to the beam, against the beam, and then just put all your weight on the right pedal or on the left. Yeah, and then I'll guide you step by step.
All right, so I'm going to stand here.
Yes.
I'm going to stand as close here as I can possible.
Yes.
Then I'm going to I'll put my weight down once I'm ready.
Yes.
And then you're ready for this one.
Uh-huh.
And when let me see, when I put my weight,
Yes.
oh man.
So this opens up, right?
Yeah.
And this is our weaving space, this gap here. So we're gonna identify this thread here, and that's our.
So I'm going to go under that.
Yes.
All the
All
way
the way
over to
here.
this one.
Yeah, you see, there's a little mark,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I see the mark here. Is that right?
That's
okay.
it. Don't pull it too tight because
Okay.
we don't want to pull this
All right, and
thread
then
like that.
and then I let it out, and I'm going to do that 4 times. Oh no,
yeah.
then do I come back this way?
Yeah, but here I'm gonna make a little arc like that. Because if you don't do that, most beginner weavers, they don't do this, and so their weaving starts to shrink on the
Okay.
sides. So now switch your feet first. So all your weight onto the other pedal. I'm gonna push this down, and then now from this marked line to the next one. Do it a little bit at an angle.
Like that.
Yeah.
And again, leave
Yeah.
it loose.
Yes. Push this. We don't want to pull too tight.
Okay.
That's it. Switch
And
pedals.
then I come back. I do
Yes.
this one.
Yeah,
And
and because
now-
this is too long, this is shorter, I'm gonna beat it now.
All right.
Watch out. So beat this.
So I'm going to take this.
Yeah. Yes, you can do it in the middle.
Okay. So then I'm going to pull it tight.
Yeah, good one. So I'm gonna do it 2 more passes.
So then I do
From
this.
to
I
here.
come out over here where it's marked.
Yes. Gonna
And
make
then
sure
I'm going to
it
change my
wraps
feet.
nicely.
And then I'm going to do from
back.
this one over to this one, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we took 1 too many. You see
Okay,
that?
so
You
I
go
have
back.
to go back.
Mhm.
Because I took 1 too many.
Yeah. So it's this one.
This one. Okay,
Yeah.
so I come under here, over to here, and that.
Oh, watch out.
Oh wait, I took 1 too many there.
Yes.
All right, so there.
Yeah, right there.
All right,
Just push that.
push
Just
that
straighten.
down.
Switch feet and then beat it.
Switch feet. Push this down.
Yes. And that's a stitch.
Oh, very cool.
and then we'll move to the next color and the next one and so on and so
Okay.
forth.
Wow.
And you wanna try?
I
Come
don't
on.
know.
I don't
It
wanna
seems
screw it up.
hard.
No, I won't tell my dad. I won't tell my dad.
Okay. Stand here.
All the weight on the right pedal,
Okay.
and then we're gonna weave the blue this time.
Okay.
And I think it's actually the left pedal. You see, because this
Wow. Okay.
on this side is on the left. So we're gonna go on these two marked threads
Okay, so
in this
which
guy
way?
here.
Like right there?
Yeah, from left to right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what do you do?
Now switch pedals. So that's one passing. Oh, take your finger out.
Oh, my finger out. Okay, then
And
here
now
is
this
it
two. Sorry,
just
that's it.
these two?
Yeah, just those
Okay.
two. So you notice when you switch pedals, the other threads come out.
Yeah, but it alternates.
Yeah.
Is it because of you're lifting 1 and 2? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the third passing.
Yeah. So you
Is switch
kind of
pedals.
are like counting when you're doing this,
Yes.
right?
It's like
And
counting
that's
linen
4.
threads.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. That's one
Then
stitch.
you do that.
Yeah. You can do it harder. Yeah, you wanna. When you walk around town, you hear that sound on the street. So
Packing it
people-
down.
Yeah.
Okay, the why is that one higher than all the rest though?
Because that was the last one we wove.
Oh.
Now
Oh.
the red will go on top of this
Oh, on
blue.
there. Okay.
Scott,
Wow.
your turn.
Look at this. How
Come on.
pretty that is. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna weave this red wine from this thread to this marked. So we'll weave all.
So where do I
actually,
go?
switch to your feet. It'll be left pedal. So we'll weave from this thread to this one, left to right. Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
I went one too many.
No, that's perfect.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
right there?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Because it's gonna loop around that.
Okay.
Switch pedals. There's that. And now we take this to here.
And I go underneath here?
Yes, yeah. There you go. So that's 2 passings. Switch
Okay.
pedals. Yeah, now we take that. So 3 passings.
3 passings.
Uh-huh. Switch pedals. Now 1 more. And because this already has 2 loops, we're gonna leave it out. So we take this only.
Right there.
4 passings. That's a stitch.
Okay.
Switch pedals and beat it. Just beat it.
Beat it, beat it, beat it.
Oh, it's cool.
All right.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's your turn, Scott.
My turn.
This blue, we need to weave this gray. But before we need to weave this gray, we need to weave this. Before we need to weave this, we need to weave that. You see that?
Here to start.
Yeah, because we have that wedge going this way, and then we'll have that going on top of it. So actually, it's not so difficult.
Well, we're gonna be working on that side.
Left pedal. So in this case, you could put your feet on this table. Yeah. And then switch your right foot. So left pedal, and you go from left to right all the way here.
Under here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't screw it up. I'm trying not to. Was this the one?
We could push this back.
This the one?
Yes, yeah. So you pass it once. And then here, we're just gonna make sure it wraps nicely and tidy. We're gonna add a little triangle, a little arch for
Okay.
slack. Switch pedals. Yeah, to the other side. I'm gonna push it down. And then you're gonna take actually, yeah. this-
Over top of that one.
And yeah, right there. All the way to the edge. Put all your weight on the, yeah. Oh yeah, you need to uncoil it. There's 2 passings. Yeah, and just push it down a little bit. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
We'll make that shape. Now switch pedals and you could beat it. Watch out for your hands there.
Beat
One
it
time I
first.
was
Beat
looking
it
and I
first.
got. Yeah, beat it. Harder. Yeah, good one. So that's 2 passings. We need 2 more. So give it some slack before you pass it.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be easy.
And I'm going around that
No, in this gap. Yeah.
all the way in.
Mhm.
Okay.
Same thing. Good.
Here?
Yeah. I usually just push it down just to make sure it wraps tidy around the edge. Make the little triangle like here. Switch pedals, and then I push it down. Makes like a little Batman symbol. Give some slack, and then pass it.
Pass
You
it.
get into a
Here.
rhythm. Yeah,
But every probably different.
that's it. Yeah, don't pull it too tight.
Pattern shifts.
That's perfect.
Beat.
Switch pedals first.
Oh.
So when we
Now
switch
beat it.
pedals, you could see how the thread goes up and
Yeah,
down, and that's why it needs that slack. Yeah. Nice. So that's like
And then
my
after
dad
10
does
minutes.
tip and toes, like heels
heel
and
and
tip.
toes.
Yeah, heel and toe. So he'll just be like
Wow.
1, 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then now we can make the gray. 1 to catch up, then all the way here. 1, immediately come back 2, give that slack, catch up. 2, 3, and 4.
But then with every stitch, doesn't the pattern change a little?
Yes, yeah. Like this stitch, they're all doing the same thing. And actually, I just realized, like this inclination is not steep. So I'm gonna undo one passing, and then shift it to the next. I just so
It's a rhythm.
yeah.
It is a rhythm.
So most what we did here, there were 4 passes, but here, because this inclination is slower, I'm only doing 1 passing, and then shifting to the next thread, and then to the next,
Wow.
and then to the
yeah.
next.
Because it's making something like that.
Yeah,
live.
yeah.
It's amazing.
But
the
this is
amount
a
of effort.
this is a 4 passing
Oh.
stitch. This is a 2 passing stitch.
Okay,
So it's half as steep,
right.
and
Yeah.
that's why this kind of pictorial weaving it's more advanced because every thread is doing something different at once.
How do you mark it and know what length is and where you need to be? I mean, are you watching here?
Yes, my dad has a. Usually, you sketch this. We'll have it on grade paper.
Oh, and then are you marking it on
Yes.
here?
Yeah, and then we figure out. We distribute the length through a certain number of threads,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll just keep that constant. Also, some people they draw what they want to weave, and then you put it underneath here, and then you mark it, and then you will just follow in those drawings. But this is geometrical enough that we can just do it with counting. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah,
It's
so
very
that's
cool.
Very cool.
that's the art of weaving.
Yeah.
101.
What is
Love
this?
that.
What is this?
This is a wool
It's wool
with a
also.
mix of rayon,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's to make it,
2%.
yeah, like really
Yeah.
tense.
2% rayon, you said?
Yeah, like 2%.
And do you do this? You just stick it through.
Yeah, that's the part that's not fun at all. When we
Yeah.
finish this rug, we're gonna run out of warp. But we have, if you notice here, some cotton threads permanently attached to the loom. They're gonna come over, make their way through this harness and through here, and then we'll cut or warp. But we will always have some cotton, like in our wool, in our loom. So all that we need to do is tie knots again.
Almost like splicing.
Yeah, like splicing. Instead of threading every
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Because to thread this loom takes a full day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we try to minimize that effort.
Do you ever just thread like a really big bolt and then just cut it off when you're done
Yeah. So here,
with one thing and then the next
typically,
project starts?
we could warp enough wool for will be 10 meters, which is
A couple
30
of
feet,
rows,
yeah.
30 feet.
Yeah.
That's the
like
longest.
35 feet.
Because then it gets too bulky here, and we cannot roll it
Oh
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like if you see those coasters that they do, they just have what's this
Oh,
called
yes.
again? Yeah.
Warp.
The
Yeah.
warp. There's like
In
a gap
between.
in the warp, and then they do it
And
again,
then
and then
you
there's
just
a
cut
gap.
Yeah,
it
you
off.
just keep
Right,
going.
Yeah.
You just leave a little gap here, keep going to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool to
And,
see the
this
process.
is just-
That's
just
awesome.
like the
It's really beautiful.
standard size loom. My dad was up until 2 years ago, we've been on a 10 feet wide rug loom. But you know, he's getting older and tired, so he would park that loom over there. But the widest looms in town, they are 15 feet wide.
Well, because how do you reach through them?
Oh, you just kind of dance on a piano.
Yeah,
You'll have a pair of pedals here, another there, another there.
yeah, and
just
you have to
walk
keep
your
moving
way
up
through.
and down.
Wow.
Wow,
But
that's
it's only
crazy.
one person, and that's because everybody has like their own like tension,
Yeah.
their own touch. So if two people wheel on it, it kind of looks
That's like
different
knitting.
no matter what.
A
Interesting.
second person can
You
pick
could
up a
tell.
knitted project because you can tell.
Yeah.
Because they hold the yarn at a different tension,
Yes.
so it's
Yeah. Health. Our ancestors believe that the left side we called Nahual, they were saying in the Lebrige carving or the wood carvers. So the Nahual, because we have our organs on the left side, like the heart, our guts, it connects us to our intuition and our dreams. On the right side, we have the awareness to produce language. And language, words are really the first act of creation. With the words that we use, we create the reality that we perceive. And so therefore we must seek for that balance of these types of awareness. And then when we look at the geometry, then we deep dive into the mathematics. They say that each step represents 13 years, just like we have 4 knuckles. 13 years, every 13 years we go through a cycle, not just in our physical body transformation, but also on our spiritual growth. If you notice, you start to remember what happened every 13 years, there's always a big shift. Because, 13 is a sacred number that, was kind of satanized. Like when
What
they talk
happens
about the
after
12
your 4
apostles.
steps?
So then, okay, so, we have 0 to 13, kind of like when we were kids. Then 26, 39, and then 52. Remember, it's when the calendars coincide.
Oh, right.
Every 52 years. This is a big cycle when the calendars coincide and the Pleiades appear in the same spot in the sky. And so 52,
those are all Fibonacci numbers, right?
yeah, this is like a Fibonacci pattern. Okay, so this is kind of like the middle of life. After this stage of growth, like we might have, formed a family, worked a lot, but we reach that middle stage of life when we ask ourselves, why? Why am I doing all this? And what's the purpose of this? And that's when our true spiritual growth begins, because we've completed, that biological state. We're like, okay, what's next? And then this kind of flattens like that. And for 13 years, they say that we will reflect back on our life's experiences to create the knowledge and wisdom that we'll inherit to the next generations. Because like we say in Mexico, at the end, we're not gonna take anything to the other world.
Right.
But we're gonna leave only the stories and teachings, and those stories will outlive us, and that's our gifts to the future generations. So as the line declines, we get old, and our gifts is to share those stories, and that's why storytelling is very important in all native traditions. And then when the line goes horizontal, is when our bodies start to lay and rest into the other world, and then we come back and start over again this cycle of life and death. Life is part of death. It's just that one more step. And, I believe this is our ancestors talking about, that eternity of that spirit. There's something in us that survives. And usually, we feel that like in plant medicine, that we're just like that essence that's creating itself over and over again. And then we have things, because everything tells a story, like these are the living books of our ancestors. So much so that even if the ancient temples were destroyed and the books were burnt, but the stories survived because they are intangible, right? You need to have spirit to see the stories, and so they are indestructible, as long as we're alive and we have breath, the original breath, will carry these stories. And for example, this is the smile pattern. This teeth-like symbol represents smiling as the first medicine that we carry within. When we smile, we know through science that our body or brain releases a cocktail of hormones and chemicals, molecules
Which
that
one are the
make
teeth?
us healthier.
Right here,
This,
the blue.
yeah, this teeth like the up and down. So that's there to remind us, that the medicine, we already carry within ourselves. And then we also have things like agave plants to distill mezcal, and also the agave it's literally a spirit drink, because the agave, it grows towards the sky. And the quiote, which is that stalk that grows after 6 years, it grows in like 2 to 3 weeks. It shoots up to the sky. Whereas vodka, which is made from potatoes, when you drink vodka, it reminds you to the underground, to those dark feelings. And mezcal, it makes you a little bit more joyful, more open, lets your spirit flow. So that's also
wonder I
the
was so
influence
happy
of
last
plants.
It's taking you to the heavens.
And then we have other patterns. I'll pull out some more there. And when it finally curls into the Fibonacci series, we usually get this pattern that's in the shape of our fist, which is the proportion between this distance and that and that and that and that. And that's a fractal, it's sacred geometry. And that's, we call the shaman pattern, we call it the Nahual in our native language. And that's when our spirit has blossomed, we say.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Reborn.
Yeah,
That is
reborn.
so beautiful.
And squash that we plant in rows in our fields. The path of the warrior, that curling, the growth, and the curling represents the inner journey to discover our true face and our true heart. This is the shaman's pattern,
Right.
joining of both consciousness, the left and the right, the spirit and the awake world.
And you call that Nawal,
Nahual and Tonal.
Nawal and
Nahual
Tonal.
the left, Tonal the right side. This is the agave pattern. This is the plant, the leaves, and the stalk that grows. And these lines are actually energy lines that connect us with plants and animals.
All right. So, and this one has a mixture of natural and synthetic.
This is all synthetic dyed.
Okay. And so, how much is that one?
This one is for the intricacy. It's $800.
Okay. And then this one over here is very similar patterns,
Yes.
but this is all natural.
This is
And
all
your father
natural.
made both of these too.
He made this one. Yeah, he wove this one.
So I thought that one was 4,000, or no, 8,000.
No.
Okay.
I think I said 800.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who wove? Do you know who wove that?
Yes, that one is my uncle, Perfecto, my dad's brother.
All right. So, I think we want to take both of these two.
Yeah, this is my dad's.
And how much is this one?
This one, it's less complicated. This is 700 on natural dyes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll ship them to us, right?
Yes, we'll ship them
So
to
we
you.
want this one and this one.
Yeah, no problem. And this one, the patterns are the cycle of life. The
Right.
smile pattern, this teeth-like symbol. The eye of the feather snake.
And is this the raindrops? This.
And no, in this case, it's still a smile pattern,
Okay.
just with a little decoration. And actually, inside here, these butterflies of wisdom.